and succulent growers, it's Lynn, and in today's video this is just going to be a quick video of me repotting one of my lovely Parodia, also known as Notocactus, cactus plants. And this stunner here I've had for about 5 years. It's one that I got from IKEA. As I say, about 5 years ago now. Very beautiful Parodia, lovely sort of dark browns, very stout spines, gorgeous, and lots of sort of woody areoles as well, very beautiful. Now I don't have the ID of this Parodia. I just bought it from IKEA and it was just labelled as cactus, as they always are. But I've been able to know, I know it's a Notocactus Parodia purely by how it looks with its sort of arrangements of the areoles, and also Parodias often have this sort of little indentation at the top. Now, the only thing near to it is I'm thinking it's some type of Parodia mammallosus, one of them varieties, some type of subspecies. But if anybody can ID it for me, do let me know in the comments down below. As I say, it's not a Parodia I'm familiar with. I've got quite a few different types of Parodia Notocactus in my collection, but this is not one I've been able to ID even online. As I say, the nearest thing to it is a sort of Parodia subspecies of a mammallosa variety, and it has gorgeous sort of stout spines. Now I repotted it a couple of times since we've had it, but it's grown ever so large. As you can see, it's practically bulging out of its pot. Still a bit of space around here, so I've been able to water it, and I've stopped watering all my desert cacti anyway now, a couple of weeks ago, to prepare them for the winter rest. And this was one I needed to get repotting, so I'm going to be repotting it in dry soil, and then I'm going to be leaving it totally dry now until the following spring, probably the April time, when I start to water again. This is going to go back out into the polytunnel for the winter months. And normally if I was repotting during the spring and summer, I would repot it and then I'd leave it about 10 days to 2 weeks before watering again, just to let the roots settle into the new soil, and if any roots have come away or got damaged, gives them a chance to heal up, rather than watering straight after repotting. But as I say, because of the time of year now, and I've stopped watering anyway all my cacti, this won't be watered now anyway until next April. Now I've got the next size up, much more of a wider pot, because Parodias do like, as I say, this one is a barrel shaped Parodia. Some of them grow more columnar. To show you one of my Lenin houses here in my grow room, it's a very large one. That's the Lenin housey over there with all its pups. But this one is one that does grow globular, and it will as soon as I do repot it, probably in a couple of years, it will grow even wider. So this is a nice pot for it. So one of these nice square pots, which I'm sort of really love, and I want to sort of change over a lot of mine into these lovely square pots here. And obviously the next size up, I only like to go up just the next size up and not into a massive size pot. And the reason for that is if you pot a cactus into a much larger pot, then there's a lot of excess soil around the roots, and when you do go to water, they can sometimes rot if they sit in water for too long. You've got too big pots. And people often say to me, yes, but Lynn, in the natural habitats, cacti don't have pots. They're often in the ground and they've got all that vast space. But the difference is when they're grown in their natural habitats in the ground does dry out quick in between waterings. When you're watering, you've got them in these pots. A little bit different with clay pots now, but when you've got them in plastic pots and you water, and they're in, they should dry out literally within a couple of days. But if you've got them in much bigger pots, they can be sitting in wet soil for much longer, because they're going to take longer to dry out. In the natural habitats, they get a big load of rainfall, then they may not get rain for quite many weeks after that. And there's something about the natural ground and the fresh air where they do dry out naturally far faster than in cultivation. So that's why I like to just go up into just the next size pot up. And I've made the soil mix up here, and I've made 3 equal parts of loam based soil. I've used John Innes number 2. I use a brand by Clover, because pretty much every other brand of John Innes is pretty awful these days, but I like the Clover brand. And I've mixed it with equal parts also of perlite and horticultural sand. I prefer personally to use grit or pumice, but I don't have any grit or pumice, so I've substituted the grit and pumice with perlite. But the most important thing is it's well draining. Parodias are pretty quite resistant to cactus soil as long as you use a well draining soil. They're not particularly fussy as long as you use a well draining soil that dries out quickly in between waterings. So 3 equal parts of loam, perlite and horticultural sharp sand. I've given it a really good mix around. Now obviously when it comes to protecting your hands, I always sort of prefer to repot cacti without using gloves and things like that. But with this one it is spiny, so I do need to protect my hands. So in this case I'm using yes, I've got just a plastic bag just to wrap around. So when I turn it onto its side and I have to handle it, I'm not going to get poked. And the reason why I don't like wearing gloves is because gloves I find are hopeless for spines going straight through. But do protect your hands when you're repotting spiny cacti, either with a few sheets of a plastic bag like this, so you're not going to get bitten when you're repotting, or sheets of newspaper or card, or if you're lucky enough to have some very good gloves. So here we go, that's everything there, and now I'm going to get repotting. Right then, first of all, let's get this beauty out of its pot. Just push that aside, put a bit of soil at the bottom there. And I always like to squeeze the pot. If you've got plastic pots, it's easy just to squeeze them and get them out. But if you happen to have terracotta pots, then it can be a bit more difficult getting a cactus out. And there's times I've had to sadly break terracotta pots because I don't want to damage the roots too much. But this is okay with this one. And say, plastic bag to protect my hands. Turn it onto its side. There we go. No problem there. Great root. So I'm just going to put it out and check over its little root system. Yeah, that's great. I'm just going to very gently put this back so you can see what I'm doing. Loosen up the roots very carefully here with my hands. And I don't want to disturb the roots too much, but I do like to sort of just gently tease off some of the old soil. And also gives me an idea to check what the roots are like. You need to check for things like root mealybugs and that. This doesn't have root mealybugs. I can tell straight away because with root mealybugs they always leave that sort of white, almost a bit of a bluey tinge powder all on the edges of the roots, and this is pretty much fine here. So as you can see, no problem there with the roots. And I'm not going to do too much here, just tap a bit off. I'm putting it in pretty much of a similar soil anyway, except I used grit last time instead of perlite, but it won't matter there. So here we go. Just come around this side. And then very gently lift this stunner up again. Like so. Down. Very carefully. Make sure that it's pretty central. Make sure that it's central in the pot. So I use the bag so I don't get bitten. There we go, that's great. And then if we're putting then the soil, I have to use my hands to put a lot of the soil in all around the sides. I can move this bag away now. You want to make sure that you put all the soil all around the sides there. Turn it around. Then I use one of these blunt handle of the end of a spoon here, just to make sure that I push all the soil down the sides there, and to make sure that all the soil is all around. So there we go guys, one very happy Parodia, all nicely repotted. So Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and for lots more tips and tricks on how you can grow and care for many different types of cacti succulents, then don't forget to subscribe. Do click that notification bell. Also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And for more growing tips, check out my website, desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus-powered day! Thank you for repotting me, and subscribers. If you can ID what type of Parodia I am, please let me know in the comments down below.